Some rooms know when something is about to change. The air shifts. The noise drops just slightly below normal. People find reasons to look somewhere else. Sora restaurant had been open for 11 years. In that time, it had never once been what it looked like from the outside. From the outside, it was low lighting and expensive wine lists and a reservation wait list that ran 6 weeks long. Inside, at certain tables, in certain booths at the back where the lighting was low enough and the music was high enough, it was something else. Everyone who worked there knew it. Nobody said it. That was the arrangement. Brea had been working at Sora for 14 months. She had learned the arrangement the same way you learn the rules of a house you move into. Not because anyone explains them, because you pay attention. She was paying attention the night everything changed. It was a Thursday. Late. The kind of late where the kitchen staff has stopped pretending they're not exhausted, and the floor staff is running on the specific autopilot of people who have done this shift so many times their bodies could do it without them. Brea was clearing table 7 when she heard it. Not what was said. She heard the tone first. Shin was speaking to her. The broad-shouldered man in the black suit who arrived 20 minutes before Kai did every time Kai came in, and who stood near the back wall like a piece of furniture that could break your arm. He was speaking to her in the particular voice that certain men use when they want a woman to understand her position without having to state it directly. She set the tray down. She turned around, and she looked at him the way she had always looked at people who tried that particular tone with her. Not with anger. With something quieter than anger and significantly more effective. The look that said, "I see exactly what you are doing, and I am not going to participate in it." The room noticed. The room always notices when a woman refuses to shrink on cue. And then she felt it. A shift. Different from the room's shift. Singular. Directional. She turned slightly and found him watching her. Seated at the corner table. Whiskey untouched. Eyes on her face with an expression she could not fully read because it was an expression he was not fully showing. But whatever it was not what she expected. It was not irritation. It was not the flat assessment of a man deciding what to do about a problem. It was something she had no word for yet. He raised one hand. One small, quiet gesture. And Shin stopped talking. That was the first moment. Neither of them knew yet that there would be more. People who meet Brea for the first time almost always make the same mistake. They see the composure, and they read it as distance. They see the stillness, and they call it coldness. They decide she is difficult before she has said a single word that could justify that conclusion. She is not difficult. She is simply not available for performances she did not agree to give. She came to Seoul 2 years before that Thursday night. She came the way people come to cities that are not their own when they are rebuilding something they do not want to name out loud yet. She brought 3 bags, a contact for a language program in Mapo, and the specific determination of a woman who has decided that grief is not a permanent address. She had lost her mother 14 months before Seoul, in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and contained the specific quality of silence that arrives when someone who has been the center of your life is no longer breathing. She had sat in that silence for 3 days after, and then she had stood up, booked a flight, and started over. Not running, starting. There is a difference, and Brea knew exactly what it was. Seoul had been good to her in the ways that matter. It was large enough to get lost in, but specific enough to build something real inside of. She had learned enough of the language to move through the city without performing helplessness. She had found her apartment in Mapo, small and imperfect and entirely hers. She had found Sora, which paid well enough and asked nothing of her beyond competence. She had found Lena, who was 25 and relentlessly, almost aggressively warm, who had decided on Brea's first shift that they were going to be friends and had simply proceeded on that basis without waiting for confirmation. She ran every morning, not because she was disciplined, because the 30 minutes between her apartment door and the Han River and back again was the part of the day that belonged to no one but her, and she protected it the way people protect the things that are keeping them functional. She sent money home every month, not to a parent anymore, To a younger brother in Accra who was 17 and brilliant and deserved every advantage she could build for him from here. She did not date. Not because she had closed that door. Because she had not yet met anyone who made her feel like opening it was worth the cost of what she would have to give up. Her peace. Her routine. The particular freedom of a woman who answers to no one in the hours that belong to her. That was Brea. Before Thursday, Kai came to Sora every third Thursday. That was the pattern. Everyone on the floor knew it. When the reservation under the name Mr. K appeared in the book, the energy in the restaurant changed in a way that was difficult to describe and impossible to miss. Backs straightened. Voices dropped. The manager, a nervous, thin man named Mr. O, developed a habit of checking his reflection in every shining surface he passed. Brea had served Kai's table twice before that night. Both times without incident. She took the order. She brought the food. She did not hover. She did not perform. She treated him the way she treated every table, with complete professional competence and nothing extra, and she had always suspected that this was more unusual to him than warmth would have been. That Thursday, Kai arrived at 9:15 with Shin and two other men whose names Brea did not know. She had been assigned to the back section, which meant she was close. Close enough to hear the specific quality of Shin's voice when he called her over. Not her name. He did not use her name. He used the particular summoning tone that some people reserve for service staff when they have decided that service staff are furniture. She came to the table. She took out her notepad. Shin told her the table setting was wrong. The glasses were in the wrong position. He said it the way people say things when the glasses are not actually the point. She looked at the glasses. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. They're correct, she said. Simple, not combative. A statement of fact delivered in the same tone she would use to confirm a reservation. Something happened in the air around the table. Shin's expression shifted. He was not used to being contradicted by waitstaff. He was not used to being contradicted by anyone who was not Kai, and occasionally not even then. He leaned forward slightly, and his voice dropped into a register that was meant to be clarifying. She did not move back. She did not look away. She held his gaze with the particular patience of a woman who has been in this specific dynamic before and has never once found backing down to be the more interesting option. I won't be spoken to that way, she said. Still quiet. Still completely steady. Not by anyone in this restaurant. The table went absolutely silent. And then Kai, who had not looked up from his glass since she approached, raised his hand. One gesture. Small. Final. Shin stopped. Kai looked up. And he looked at her. Not the way men in that restaurant usually looked at her, as a variable to be managed or an aesthetic element of the room. He looked at her the way you look at something genuinely unexpected. Something that has arrived without warning and made you reconsider a calculation you thought you had already finished. The glasses are fine, Kai said. His voice was low and even. Bring the menu. She held his gaze for exactly 1 second. Then she nodded and turned. Behind her, the room exhaled. And right here, before we go any further, I have to ask, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. Because this story is for every person who ever held their ground in a room that expected them to fold. I want to know where you are. Here is what most people in Seoul knew about Kai. Almost nothing. That was not an accident. That was the result of decades of deliberate construction. The name, the company, the restaurants, the careful, unremarkable public face of a successful businessman who attended the right events and donated to the right causes and said nothing in interviews that could be held against him. The Yun network existed in the space between what could be proven and what everyone already knew, and Kai had built that space himself, brick by brick, starting at an age when most boys were still learning how to navigate high school. He had not gone to high school, not properly. He had gone to the streets at 12 because the alternative was worse. He had met director Han at 14. Han had been 40 then, already powerful, already the particular kind of dangerous that wears patience like a second skin. He had seen something in the boy standing in front of him on that wet street. Not potential exactly. Something harder than potential. A specific kind of will that could not be manufactured in people who had not been made to need it. Han had taken him in, shaped him, taught him the difference between power that announces itself and power that does not need to. Taught him that the most dangerous thing a man can possess is the ability to make other men underestimate him. Taught him that every relationship has a price, and the wise man always knows who is paying and who is collecting. What Han had not taught him was what to do when none of those calculations applied. Kai had run the Yun network for 9 years. In that time, he had built it from a mid-tier operation into something that made powerful men careful about how they addressed him. He had not done it through cruelty, though he was capable of cruelty when the situation required it. He had done it through precision, through the absolute refusal to be surprised, through the habit of reading every room, every person, every variable, and having already decided what to do before anyone else had finished deciding what the situation was. He was 36 years old, and he had not been surprised by a person in a very long time. Until a waitress in a white shirt looked at Shin like he was a problem she had already solved and said the words, "I won't be spoken to that way," with the specific calm of someone who had made that decision long before the moment required it. He had not slept well that night. He was not a man who analyzed that kind of thing. He noted it the way you note an irregularity in something you thought you understood completely, filed it in the part of his mind that was always running, and went back to his desk. But he came back to Sora the following Thursday instead of waiting 2 weeks. He did not examine why. Before we get into what happened next, I need to know what you think. Because Kai came back early. He changed the pattern for the first time in years. And the question is, do you think he knew why? Or do you think he was still telling himself it was business? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you see. He was back in 1 week. That was the first thing Brea noticed. Not him specifically, not at first. She noticed the shift in the room. The way Mr. O appeared from the back with his ties suddenly straightened. The way the other staff redistributed themselves without being asked. The particular quiet that fell over the front section like a change in air pressure. She was at the service counter when she looked up and saw him crossing the floor. He did not look toward her. He moved to his table with the same unhurried precision he always moved with, Shin 2 steps behind. No other men tonight. Sat down. Did not look at the menu because he never looked at the menu. She was not assigned to his table that night. That assignment belonged to Min, one of the senior servers, who had been serving Kai's table since before Brea arrived. She noticed that when Min approached the table, Kai said something brief. Min nodded and came directly to where Brea was standing. "He's requesting you," Min said. His voice was entirely neutral, but his eyes were asking a question she could not answer. Section transfer. Mr. O approved it. She looked across the room. Kai was not looking at her. He was looking at the table, his hands on the surface in front of him. She took her notepad and walked over. "Good evening," she said. He looked up, and for a moment, just a moment, the sealed surface of his expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Not warmth exactly. Not yet. Something more like recognition. "You're still here," he said. It was a strange thing to say. She considered it for exactly a beat. "I don't leave," she said. "Unless I decide to." Something moved across his face. Gone before she could name it. "The usual," he said, and returned to the middle distance. She brought him his usual. Shin watched her the entire time, with eyes she refused to acknowledge. At one point during the evening, when she was refilling the water, Kai spoke again. "You're not from Seoul." "No." "How long have you been here?" 2 years. He was quiet for a moment. "Do you like it?" She thought about the honest answer, not the polite one. "Most days," she said. He looked at her then. The full look. The one she had felt last Thursday, like a shift in the room's gravity. "That's honest," he said. "It's the only thing I know how to be." She moved to the next table. When she looked back later, Kai was watching the middle distance again, his expression sealed as ever. But his glass was empty, and he had not summoned anyone to refill it.
He was still sitting there when she took her break.
Lena found her in the corridor. "He requested you specifically?" Lena whispered, her eyes enormous. "Do you understand what that means? Nobody gets requested specifically. Not ever." Brea looked at her. "It means he wanted competent service," she said. Lena made a sound that was not agreement. "It did not happen quickly. That matters." The thing that developed between Brea and Kai did not arrive in a single dramatic moment. It built the way real things build, slowly, in the spaces between words, in the moments of sustained attention that neither of them fully acknowledged to themselves. He came back the following Thursday, and the Thursday after that, always requesting her section, always arriving at 9:15, always ordering the same thing. And somewhere around the fourth week, he started staying later than he usually did, after the other tables emptied, after Shin stationed himself near the door and became a piece of furniture. The first real conversation happened on a Tuesday, which surprised her because he never came on Tuesdays. She was the only server left on the floor when he arrived, clearly from somewhere else, his usual precision slightly disturbed in a way she could not have named but could feel. He sat at his table. She brought him water, without being asked. He looked at the glass for a moment. Then he said, without looking up, "Do you ever get tired of being the only person in the room who says what they mean?" She sat down across from him. She had never done that before. She was not sure why she did it then, except that it seemed like the right response to the question. "Every single day," she said. He looked at her. For the first time since she had met him, she had the sense that she was seeing something real rather than a managed surface. "Why do you keep doing it?" he asked. She thought about it honestly. "Because the alternative is losing track of who I am. And I'm not willing to do that." A long silence. Not uncomfortable. "I've been doing the alternative for 20 years, he said finally. She did not fill that silence with comfort or question. She let it sit. And he seemed to understand that she was letting it sit, and something in his posture changed. Small. Almost nothing. The way a door moves a centimeter on its hinge in a change of air pressure. Over the following weeks, the conversations grew longer and stranger and more honest than conversations between a restaurant owner and a waitress had any business being. He told her things in the fragmented, careful way of someone who has not spoken honestly in so long that the words come out in pieces rather than sentences. She told him things too. Not everything. Not the grief that had brought her here. Not the specifics of the loss. But the shape of it. The decision to start over. The particular work of building a life in a language and city that are not your first ones. He listened the way people who are used to being obeyed never listen. Completely. Without preparing his response while she was still talking. Mireille noticed everything. She said nothing for 2 weeks. Then she came to Kai's office on a Tuesday morning and set a thin folder on his desk without comment. Inside were 5 photographs of Brea, outside her apartment building, on her morning run, entering Sora. Kai looked at the photographs for a long moment. "Take these away," he said. "Okay." Mireille's voice was careful. Director Han has already asked about her. The room went very still. Director Han had already asked about her. This man, who had never once in 20 years acted out of anything but self-interest, who treated every person in his orbit as an asset to be managed or a liability to be eliminated, had turned his attention toward a woman whose only crime was refusing to be invisible. "I need you to tell me in the comments right now. Does that make you angry? Because it should. Because that is what men like Han do. They cannot stand the sight of something real that they do not control." It started with her schedule. She came in on a Wednesday to find her name had been removed from 3 shifts without explanation. Mr. O could not look at her when she asked about it. His eyes went to the wall, the desk, the floor, anywhere that was not her face. "There has been a scheduling change," he said. "It's temporary." It was not temporary. The following week, she had 1 shift. The week after that, none. She went to Mr. O's office on a Monday morning and sat down in the chair across from his desk without being invited to and waited for him to finish pretending to look at his computer. Tell me what's happening, she said. He looked genuinely pained. He was not a cruel man. He was a frightened one. Brea, he said, there are people I cannot go against. You understand? There are things I cannot change. Who told you to remove me from the schedule? He said nothing, which was its own answer. She left his office, and she stood on the pavement outside Sora for 2 minutes. The morning traffic moved around her. A delivery truck pulled up to the service entrance. The city did not pause for what had just happened to her. She did not cry, not because she was not hurt,
Because she was deciding something.
she was not going to disappear quietly. She stood there in the middle of his expensive, carefully managed office, and she thought about the thing in front of her, about what the honest choice was, about what her mother would have said, her mother, who had been the most practically fearless person Brea had ever known. What does Han actually want? She asked. He wants to know that I'm still entirely his. Are you? The silence was the longest one yet. I don't know, Kai said. That's the problem. Director Han did not do things loudly. He had not survived 61 years and built what he built by being the loudest man in the room. He was a man who applied pressure at the precise point where pressure was most efficient and then waited for the structure to respond. He sent a man to Brea's apartment building, not to threaten her directly, simply to be visible, to make sure she knew that he knew where she lived. The message was calibrated perfectly. It said, "You are not invisible to me." It said, "Your decision to exist in proximity to something I own has made you a variable in my calculations." It said, "The easiest version of this ends with you leaving Seoul." Brea came home from a job interview on a Thursday afternoon and saw the man outside her building. She knew what he was before she had processed why she knew. The specific quality of stillness. The way he was placed. She did not break stride. She walked directly to her door, keyed in, went upstairs, and sat at her kitchen table for 7 minutes. Then she called Lena. "I need you to not ask me questions," she said. "I need you to just listen." Lena listened. To all of it. To the restaurant and Kai and Director Han, and the flagging and the man outside the building. She listened the way Lena listened to everything, completely, with her whole attention, and when Brea finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" Lena asked. "I'm going to go to work," Brea said.
Brea, you don't have a job.
"I'm going to go to Sora. I'm going to walk through the front door during service. And I'm going to do my job." Another silence. "That's either the bravest thing I've ever heard," Lena said, "or the most dangerous." "It might be both," Brea said. She was there at 6:15 the following evening. Front door. Her uniform pressed. Her hair done. She walked past the host stand as if her name were still on the schedule, and she moved to her section, and she picked up a tray. Mr. O saw her from across the room. His face went through 4 expressions in 2 seconds. She held his gaze until he looked away. She served 3 tables before Shin appeared at the edge of her section. He looked at her with the specific expression of a man who has been told someone would be gone and has just found them present. She looked back at him with the specific expression of a woman who has made a decision and does not require his opinion of it. "You need to leave," he said. "I'm working," she said. "You are not on the schedule." "Then someone will need to escort me out." She picked up the tray. "Will that be you?" Stop right here. Before you hear what happened next. Before you find out what Kai did when he walked through that door and saw her standing there. I want you to predict it. What do you think a man like Kai does in that moment? Does he send her away to protect her? Does he stand beside her? Does he finally choose? Tell me in the comments. Because what happens next is something I did not see coming. And I think you might not either. He walked in at 7:42. She knew the moment he entered because the room did what it always did, and the specific quality of the silence told her exactly who had come through the door. She did not turn around. She kept her eyes on Shin and her tray at her side, and she did not give the room the satisfaction of watching her react. Shin's eyes moved past her. Something in his posture shifted. She heard the footsteps crossing the floor. Measured. Unhurried. the walk of a man who has decided. He stopped beside her, not behind her, beside her, standing close enough that his shoulder was level with hers. And he looked at Shin with a look that contained everything that had been building for 9 years between a man who thought he owned something and the thing that was deciding it was done being owned. "She's working tonight," Kai said. Shin's jaw tightened.
P.
Han's orders were clear. "Yes," Kai said. They were. A pause that lasted approximately 3 seconds and contained about 20 years of history. "She's working tonight," Kai said again. Shin looked at him for a long moment. A long, careful, assessing moment of a man deciding whether what he is seeing is real. Then he stepped back. A single step. And he turned and walked to the back of the room and stood by the wall and became furniture again. The restaurant did not exhale. It was too carefully maintained for that. But something shifted in the air the way it does when a weight that has been present for a long time is suddenly no longer pressing. Brea turned and looked at Kai. He was already looking at her. "You have 3 tables waiting," he said. She looked at him for exactly 1 second. And something moved across her face that she did not try to manage or contain. Just for that second. Just for him. "I know," she said. And she went back to work. Later, when the restaurant had closed and the staff had gone, and Shin was outside and Lena had texted her 17 times in a row which she had not answered, Brea sat across from Kai at his corner table for the first time not as a server, but as something that did not have a word yet. "Han is going to respond to this," she said. "Yes." "What does that look like?" Kai leaned back in his chair. For the first time since she had known him, the architecture of his composure was not hiding anything. It was simply him. "It looks like a conversation I have been avoiding for 9 years, he said. She looked at him steadily. "Are you ready for it?" He was quiet for a moment. The kind of quiet that is not avoidance but arrival. "I wasn't," he said. "Before you." He stood beside her, in front of everyone, in a room that runs on power and performance and the careful management of who matters and who doesn't. He stood beside her. If you are watching this and you felt that, you are exactly the kind of person this channel exists for. Hit subscribe right now. Because every story we tell here is built for people who understand that dignity is not negotiable. You belong here. Han's office was on the 14th floor of a building in Yunggu that had no public signage. It was a room Kai had been entering since he was 17 years old. He had sat in that chair across from that desk more times than he could count. He had received instructions in that room, commendations, corrections, the particular silences that were more directive than speech. He had never once walked into that room with his own agenda rather than Han's. Han was at his desk when Kai entered. He did not look up immediately. That was technique. Kai had watched him do it to other people for 2 decades. Let them stand. Let the room work on them. He stood. He let the room do nothing to him. When Han looked up, he found an expression on Kai's face he had not seen there before. "Sit down," Han said. "I'll stand," Kai said. Han's eyes moved across his face, measuring. The heavy-lidded assessment that had calculated 1,000 situations from that desk.
"She's a waitress," Han said.
"She's not a variable," Kai said. "She's not leverage. She's not a liability to be managed. She's a person. Everything," Han said softly, "is a variable, not her." Han leaned back in his chair. His expression did not change, but something behind it did. Something that had been sleeping became very awake. "You understand what you're saying," Han said. It was not a question. "I understand exactly what I'm saying." A long silence. The kind that Han usually filled with something mild and precise that reoriented the entire room. He did not fill it this time. He let it sit. And Kai sat in it with him without moving. "You are built for this," Han said finally, his voice carrying something that was almost, not quite, sadness. "Everything you are, I made." Kai looked at him steadily. "I know," he said. "I'm grateful for parts of it. I'm not grateful for all of it. And I'm done pretending I can't tell the difference." Han looked at him for a long time. The look of a man revising a calculation he thought was complete.
This will cost you, Han said.
I know. It will cost her. I know that too.
She knows it.
She made her choice. Another silence. Han's fingers on the desk. One small movement. You've changed, Han said. Not an accusation. An observation.
Yes, Kai said.
Han looked at him one more time. Then he picked up his pen and returned to the papers on his desk. Close the door on your way out, he said. Kai closed the door. Before I tell you how this ends, I want to say something. This story is for every person who ever sat across from a system that expected them to fold and simply refused. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today, because some stories are medicine, and this one is that kind. She was on her second coffee when the buzzer went. She was not expecting anyone. Lena had already called 3 times and been told everything in a 40-minute conversation that had involved Lena crying twice, which Brea had expected, and Brea almost crying once, which she had not. Mireille had sent a text that said only. He told Han, "You should know that." She pressed the intercom. The voice that came through it was quieter than she was used to hearing it. Not the restaurant voice. Not the office voice. Something underneath both of those. It's Kai. I know it's early. I can go. She pressed the door release without responding. He came up the stairs and she opened the door before he knocked, and they stood in the doorway for a moment in the gray morning light, both of them slightly different versions of themselves than the ones who had occupied this story until now. Han is not done, he said. I know. There will be more to deal with. I know that too. He looked at her, and she looked back at him. And in that doorway, in the early morning of a soul that was just beginning to move, something that had been building in corridors and restaurants and offices and silences over months finally sat still long enough to be named. She did not name it out loud. She did not need to. Do you want coffee? She asked. Something crossed his face that she had first seen weeks ago, that shift behind the sealed surface, the thing she had no word for. Except now she understood it. It was what relief looks like on a face that has not practiced it. Yes, he said. She stepped back from the door to let him in. Outside, Seoul moved on in its ordinary way, entirely indifferent to the fact that inside a small apartment in Mapo, a man who had not sat still without purpose in 22 years was learning, over the world's most unremarkable cup of coffee, what it felt like to be somewhere because he wanted to be. And a woman who had come to this city to rebuild herself was beginning to understand that what she had built was larger and stronger than she had even planned for. That it had held, that she had held, without begging, without shrinking, without losing a single essential piece of herself. She had held. She held. She did not beg. She did not fold. She walked back into the room that tried to erase her, and she stood there until the room had to decide what to do about a woman who simply would not move. But here is the thing. Director Han closed the door quietly. And quiet has never once meant finished. Not with a man like Han. Not when the thing he thought he owned has just told him, calmly and directly, that it has made other plans. We are nowhere near done. Part 2 is coming. And when it does, nothing about it will be quiet. If you are not subscribed, do it now. Because you do not want to miss what Han does next. And you especially do not want to miss what Brea does when she finds out.